On April 12, 1862, during the American Civil War, one of the strangest and most daring raids took place at an event known as the Great Locomotive Chase. It involved a group of Union soldiers stealing a Confederate train and attempting to disrupt vital railroads in Georgia. The plan was masterminded by James J. Andrews, a Union spy, who gathered 20 men for the mission. They aimed to seize a train, ride it into Confederate territory, and destroy railroad tracks and bridges to cripple the South's transportation system. The plan was daring, but it didn't go as hoped. The group boarded a Confederate train at Big Shanty, Georgia, on the Western and Atlantic Railroad. The train was carrying military supplies and civilians, and when it stopped at a station for breakfast, the raiders seized the opportunity. They overpowered the crew, locked them in the tender car, and took control of the locomotive. They headed north, aiming to reach Chattanooga, Tennessee, where they would disrupt the Southern Railroad system. However, things went wrong almost immediately. The raiders, although brave, were not experienced train operators. They were unfamiliar with the tracks and encountered various obstacles along the way, including burned bridges and telegraph wires. Meanwhile, the Confederacy noticed the missing train and quickly organized a pursuit. A chase began, with Confederate engineers on other locomotives trying to catch the raiders. The Union soldiers, already struggling with the train's operation, found themselves running low on fuel and steam. The Confederates, who knew the train and the tracks, were gaining ground. As the chase continued, the Union raiders attempted to sabotage the tracks in hopes of slowing their pursuers, but their efforts were mostly unsuccessful. The chase escalated as the Confederate locomotives got closer. At Ringgold, Georgia, realizing they were out of options, the raiders abandoned the train and scattered into the woods. They hoped to escape but were quickly captured. Several of the raiders were executed by the Confederates, while others were imprisoned or escaped. Though the raid failed to cripple Confederate railroads, it became one of the most talked about events of the war. The story of the chase and the audacity of the Union soldiers captured the public's imagination. The surviving raiders were eventually awarded the Medal of Honor in recognition of their bravery. The Great Locomotive Chase was an odd and dangerous mission that highlighted the extremes both sides were willing to go to during the Civil War. It was a daring, yet ultimately unsuccessful, attempt to disrupt the enemy's supply lines, blending boldness with miscalculation and misfortune. The bizarre pursuit remains one of the more unusual episodes of the Civil War, showing how unconventional tactics were sometimes employed in a desperate struggle.